and welcome. Episode number 11, first to third podcast. I will be your host this evening. I'm Scotty, joined as always by some of my best friends, Mr. Drew Dull and Mr. Robbie Swab down below. Robbie giving us all the vacation vibes this evening. I think we're all going to be a little bit jealous of what he's got going on tonight, but as always glad to see you boys. How we doing, Rob? I guess I'll start with you, Mr. Vacation Mode. So how's life treating you?
Yeah, man. I'm just sitting out here on this second floor deck. One of the beautiful places here in Cape Charles, Virginia. It's really nice. A little bit of a breeze. Not very many bugs. Got my cold drink. Talk about the baseball, man.
Living the dream. Living the dream.
Vacation, Robbie, man. Vacation, Robbie.
Love it. Drew?
What's up?
Yeah. How we doing, boss?
We're doing good. Graduation was today. Haven't had a baby yet, but sooner than later from what we're being told. So we'll see what happens. Next Sunday, I don't know if I'll be here next Sunday or not. We shall see. Well, I may come on a spot appearance if the lady lets me in. If he's here, I'll show him to the world. We'll see what happens. But no, man, it's a good week. Good week. Tomorrow's the last work day, and then school's out for summer. Alice Cooper.
So Drew, will we know the name of your baby next week?
It is possible, Robbie. It is quite possible. You're probably going to get it into a text message this week, maybe. I don't know.
Love it.
I am excited. I cannot tell you how excited I am.
Yeah,
we're excited too, man. We're pretty excited.
Well, if Drew randomly disappears from this podcast in somewhat of a frenzy, we will assume that means it's good news and it is totally excusable. So we will have no problems there.
The laptop gets slammed shut. You guys know. Game on.
That's right. Awesome. Well, it has been quite a week. It's been busy. We've all had some stuff going on. Barrick is traveling for some work stuff this week. So we do miss him. Kenny still kind of going through some stuff. Work life. We all get it. Ryan still grinding through some season as well. So we certainly miss the three of them. We do look forward, hopefully, to a podcast in the future that brings all six of us back together. But nonetheless, we will be good. But man, anytime the Atlanta Braves are on a winning streak, let alone an 11-game winning streak at this point, that just makes for such a great just week of baseball. The team is playing absolutely lights out, and that always, again, I've said it on here, probably to my detriment, my mood can shift and change with the Braves and how they're playing. I've been living pretty good since the calendar flipped to June, so no complaints on that. So
June has been good.
Yeah. Drew, I was I was doing a little podcast research and was going through an episode, I believe it was last week, and there was a comment made about the Braves winning streak, and Barrick made a joke of you and I putting up stacks on whether the Braves would lose a game in June. Here we are, 12 days in. It has not happened yet. So, and I believe you put out there was 100% chance they wouldn't go undefeated in the month of June. So
I'll stand by my words, though. I will stick to those guns.
Yeah, I hear you.
It may not be this. It may not be in these next 6 games, but it's coming.
Yeah. If they don't,
awesome.
I'll take the L on that.
Absolutely,
is what it is.
If they don't lose in the month of June, we're probably in first place.
This is my money. You may have it.
Yeah,
exactly. So, but again, it's still pretty crazy to me. I saw a meme today that made me laugh, and it said, I wish that I knew what it was like to pull for a team that's lost in June, but I don't. So I was like, fair enough. Love it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Fun to watch good baseball.
That's right. Before we jump too deep into Braves talk, I know that we are so eager and chomping at the bit to get there. I don't want to miss the stack recap from last week as I did a couple weeks ago. So before we get ahead of ourselves, let's do a little stack bet recap from last week. Kenny and Robbie, did not have stack bets last week, so they will not have anything from an update standpoint this week. I got to say, from a podcast standpoint, overall, this was a pretty tough week for the boys on some of the stack bets overall, but I think what we've got in here will be pretty good. So Barrick put up 50 stacks that Austin Hayes would go 3 or more home runs this week. That did not happen. He had 1 home run, love it, but did not have 3. So he loses that one. Drew put up 3 stack bets. I'm still going to go through them. But it was not Drew did not have a kind week. Drew put up 50 stacks. Mackenzie Gore would go 6+ innings and have 6+ Ks. Mackenzie had his first struggle start of the year. I believe he went correct. 2 1/3, 6 earned runs, something like that.
Yeah, it was a bad day for Mackenzie, but it's all right. He'll bounce back. He'll bounce back. He'll be all right.
Did he strike out enough?
No, I think he struck out 2 or 3, and 2 1/3. So
should have put that bet on Spencer Strider.
Yeah.
Quadzilla.
And then Witt didn't do me any favors either.
Witt, unfortunately, also did not hit the bet. So he put up 25 stacks. Whit Merrifield would hit over 260 this week. I think he ended up hitting 230.
Yeah, like 230, 225, something like that.
7 for 30, I think was his.
He had a chance. He had a chance to do it today. He had a slim chance, but he had a chance and just didn't do it. So
Drew did ride the hot wave with the Braves this week. He put up 25 stacks. The Braves would win 4 or more games. As we've kind of preluded, the Braves ended up sweeping the week to continue the winning streak. So he put up 25. He won 50 on that. So that brings Drew's balance at the end of last week to 250 stacks. Going into later this evening, he will have a total of 300 stacks to play with this evening. Just to back up just a quick bit, Barrick will finish last week with 60. Once we add his 50 for this week, he'll be at 110 this week. Since Robbie and Kenny didn't put anything up, they will keep the balances that they ended with. So Robbie has 125 stacks to play with. Kenny has 90. And then I will round us out here.
So I'm ahead of Kenny?
You are ahead of Kenny. 35 stacks.
Total win. Total win.
And I, of all people, actually had a good betting week last week, which hard to believe. So I put up 50 stacks that Austin Riley would have 4 more home runs. Unfortunately, he did not do that. He did put up 2. But hey, if that's at the cost of the Braves still winning 6 games this week, I'm not going to complain about that.
4 bombs is a lot.
He put up 4 last week, and so I kind of was riding the hot streak, and he is a
super streaky hitter.
Yeah, for sure.
I see that. I see you there.
Yeah. I did ride a little bit of the hot streak of our rookie, Michael Harris II. I put up 25 stacks. He would have 6 or more hits this week. I believe he finished the week with 7. He looked very good at the plate. So that was a win for me. And then I put up another 25 stacks that the Braves would win 5 or more games this week. And as said, they have done that. So that was a hit. So I come away with 100 stacks this week. So my balance at the end of last week, 175 plus the 50 we get today, puts me at a 225 balance to work with this evening. So as always, we will end the podcast with our weekly stack bets, and we will see where they flow there. But recurring segment, as we have continued to do, stack bets are done. I still think overall as a podcast, we're not doing terrible. So if that legal sports betting ever comes to North Carolina, we may be doing well. So we'll see what continues to happen for us there. So
you never know.
Perfect. Well, I think that will take us right on into the main kind of meat of our podcast each and every week. That is our Braves talk, and boy, are the Braves rolling. So as we've kind of been teasing and alluding to, the Braves finished the week sweeping a 2-game series against the Athletics and then sweeping a 4-game series against the Pittsburgh Pirates. So that's 6 wins this week, and that extends the Braves' winning streak to 11 straight games, which is the longest winning streak from what I've been able to gather since 2013 when they won 14 in a row. So I would love to see them match that or go past it. So we will see how that continues to go. It was a great week of just really baseball in general for the Braves. Starting pitching was really good for the most part. Bullpen looked really good. And then the offense just continued, to kind of put up runs and put up hits. So as just a quick recap, the Braves took, as I mentioned, both games against the A's 3-2 and 13-2 before sweeping the Pirates in 4, 3-1, 4-2, 10-4, and 5-3 today. You guys have any big takeaways that you saw from the boys this week?
They're hitting. And when they hit, that there's not as much pressure on the pitching. So they hit and hit and hit, and everybody's starting to hit, so it gets scary quickly.
Yeah, I mean, and there's still like Ozzy broke out a little bit this week, but he's been scuffling a little bit as of late. Ozuna has not hit really well. I mean, there are a couple of people who, when on, can carry, and they're not hitting, and the Braves are still doing a good job of putting up runs. Honestly, I thought the starting pitching efforts from Kyle Wright today specifically.
Yep.
And his last start, because his last start he gave up 2 in the first and then goes 8 innings and holding him at 2. Like in the past, those starts for Kyle Wright would have ended in him going through 2, 3, 4 innings and giving up 6 or 8 runs.
Yep.
And his mental makeup, he must be doing something in between the years to get himself right. Because even today, he looked like he was going to lose a little bit and just grinded through. Got 6 innings, 3 runs. And like you said, Drew, with the offense going the way it is, we can score 3 runs. We can score more than 3.
Yeah. And it, to that point, Robbie, it kind of begs the question to me, just obviously we're not in the clubhouse, but, Charlie Morton is kind of the veteran on that starting staff, really, when you look at it. And he has weirdly not really had like shutdown stuff. He himself has also had these like grind starts where he's giving up a few runs early, and then he's having to just really bear down and really try to grind out and not all of a sudden, just come out of the game after 5 innings, and kind of get through. And that was indicative of what happened yesterday in Charlie's start again. He goes 6 innings, he gives up 4 runs. But it was a really weird start in the sense of the Pirates kind of took advantage of some specific opportunities because he struck out 12 batters. That's so it's like to sit here and for me to say that he had a bad start is kind of a joke, because when you strike out 12 batters in 6 innings, you've got pretty legit stuff. But what didn't make sense is the fact he gave up 4 runs and then came out of that game and was losing 4-2 at the time when he came out of the game. And so but anyway, the point of that was just, I wonder if he is helping these younger guys with that mentality of, figuring out how to grind out starts and get there. So,
I think, he hadn't pitched well. Honestly, we have not seen a level Charlie Morton yet. And you can kind of say, that's a terrible thing. Or you can also say, wow, like when he starts rolling, and, we were talking about this before we started, there are some dudes that the Braves are missing right now. Soroka, Matzik, Rosario, like those guys are Kirby Yates. Those are key pieces to what the Braves are trying to do, and they're playing well against the teams that they should be playing well against. They needed something like this to get them back into this race, because the Mets are playing a different level of baseball this year, and when all of the pieces are all up in a row, it'll be fun down the stretch watching this race because the Phillies are playing well too.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's one of those things where, to be honest, like I'm not a big fan of that whole getting Soroka and these guys back is going to feel like a mid-season trade. I don't like that kind of adage because those guys have been around the team, and Rosario's taking batting practice with the guys right now, so it's not the same jolt that you get when you trade for a guy and he brings like a new energy from a whole different squad. But to that point, the talent that they're adding just by those guys being back in the lineup or in the rotation or in the bullpen is going to be pretty impressive and pretty massive, I think, down the stretch. Baseball is fickle. Sports in general, injuries happen. So, it'll be interesting to see how baseball in general navigates that through the rest of the season. But again, specifically the Braves. Hopefully we can stay healthy and continue some winning baseball here. So.
Yeah, I mean the Mets haven't had DeGrom or Scherzer in the same rotation yet, man. So
exactly. So it's tough for sure. Just to kind of throw out a little bit of statistics to just kind of, I think, show how well the team is playing right now. Ronald Acuna Jr. had 3 home runs this week. Adam Duvall had 3 home runs this week. Ozzie Albies really broke out of that home run kind of drought that he was in. I think it was 40 games before he hit his first home run. Was it in the Pirate series? He did that, and then he hit the grand slam yesterday in the 7th that really kind of sparked a lot of energy and a lot of good vibes there. William Contreras, again, continues to tear it up with 2 more home runs. Riley had 2 more home runs. Olsen hit a bomb today, and kind of a milestone for him. It was his 150th career home run, so kudos to him.
Got there quick.
Yeah, that kid is young to have 150.
28.
So, yeah, so good for him.
It's cool that we get to see William Contreras hit a lot. I think that kind of shows a reassessment from Brian Snitker on how to handle having the catchers.
Yeah.
Because he was not a guy who was ever going to put in his backup catcher. He never did that even in an interleague play before the DH came to National League.
Yeah.
So for him to say, look, this kid's bat's good enough, we got to get it in there. Even if Darno's catching, like that's kind of legit and is working out really well at this for the time being. So
Yep, absolutely.
Way to go, Snit.
Dansby continues to absolutely be on fire out of the 2-hole. That kid, like that is such a. I've been watching that so much here lately. When that lineup gets down to the bottom of that order, and you go Michael Harris, Ronald Acuna Jr., Dansby Swanson, Austin Riley, Matt, like holy cow! Like
I told you last week, I really liked the lineup. And he stuck with it, and holy Jesus, hello.
Yeah. And you start getting production out of those other guys like Ozzie, Ozuna, Duvall, again, hitting 3 home runs. I mean,
less pressure on those guys.
Yeah. Again, it's already hard enough to go Acuna, Dansby, Riley, Olsen. Like, that's already a tough 4. But then all of a sudden you start getting to the bottom of that lineup. And when Harris comes up, if he gets on base, there was at one point the inning yesterday, the 7th inning, Michael Harris was on third base. Ronald Acuna Jr. on first base. Dansby hits that bloop over first base, and Ronald scores from first standing up. Like, that is just why. That's so much speed on the base path.
Did you see his secondary lead and his primary lead on that? He had a huge lead. They let him have it. And it was such a good read off the bat, too, knowing where the outfield wasn't. And he took
off.
And Ron Washington, again, Robbie put up a stop sign.
100% he put up a stop sign.
Yeah, but he ran through it.
Yeah. So
it's funny that all of that happens as the coaches here, Drew. All of that happens before that pitch is ever thrown.
That is correct.
Like he knows exactly where that right fielder is playing. He knows if there's a shallow fly ball to my left shoulder or that way.
He's easily into third. He's easily into third, and then it's like, well, I can roll if I want to.
Well, because as soon as that ball was hit, his head down was moving.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That is elite level base running.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's elite level base running.
Yeah. He had zero, as you said, hesitation off the bat. As soon as that ball was hit, he was gone. There was not even a question. He didn't even do the whole half turn and
look.
see. He was just gone, and he knew it. And so, like you said, that's great.
Yeah.
I will say, I don't know if you guys saw this. I did watch it just because they talked about it on the broadcast. The Bally Sports YouTube page put out a video of Nick Green working with Ozzie Albies, Eric Young, and Ron Washington on base running. And it was a really cool look at what first and third base coaches are doing with guys pre-game, during the game, and then even after the game to talk about things that happen. So I highly recommend that. I'll try to find that and link it in the description below for folks that want to watch that as well. It was just a really cool insight. A lot of people, it's mainly because growing up, the first base coach is just a guy that's basically standing there. The first base coach has so much responsibility at the higher levels of the game. And to just hear Eric Young kind of chat about that, is something that's really cool and unique. So anyway, give that a plug. Like I said, I'll try to remember to link it down in the description below. But yeah.
And when Dan's being a 2-hole, I feel like they've tried that experiment a couple of times in the past few years because Brian Snitker really likes him there.
Mm-hmm.
And the adage nowadays has been, well, you got to put your best hitter there, which is why Matt Olson was hitting 2.
Or Freddie Freeman and all that stuff in the past.
And so I think Dansby is more of a classic 2-hole hitter.
Yeah.
Especially when he's right and is not swinging through pitches.
Yeah.
When he's locked in on putting the ball in play.
Yeah, because he goes all fields. He can hit and run. There's no bunting obviously anymore, but he could bunt if you wanted him to, and he's got some pop. I mean,
he
can run, and he can run.
Yeah, yeah. And you make a mistake, he'll take it yard. So
right.
I mean, I absolutely love it. And then again, pitching wise, just real quick, Kyle Wright had 2 starts this week. He went 14 total innings. He gave up 5 runs, but he had 14 strikeouts to 2 walks. That walk number is so huge. And that is something, in my opinion, that the Braves have done such a good job in this winning streak of cutting down. So just to give you guys some perspective, this week, the Braves walked a total of 8 hitters in 6 games. There were some games in May that they walked 8 in a game. So again, they're really turning that number around. They're not giving, guys, free passes on base. And that in my opinion has been huge for that pitching staff. The bullpen again looks, pretty solid on the week. Kenley pitched 4 innings this week. He gave up no runs, had 5 Ks. And AJ Minter, talk about a dude stepping up this year with Tyler Matzik going down. That's another guy most people aren't even really talking about right now either. Tyler Matzik being on the IL with some shoulder discomfort. AJ Minter has looked super phenomenal. He pitched in 3 games, went 2.2 innings, gave up only 1 hit and had 2 strikeouts, 0 walks again in his outing.
If you're an all-star manager and you're looking to add a bullpen arm, especially a lefty, is he a guy that who's
the all-star manager?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sam.
I
don't want to plug anybody, but
yeah. I think the Braves are going to have quite a bit of pitching represented at the All-Star game, since the coaches basically pick the pitching staff. So there'll be some guys obviously that get that, but
I feel like the NL All-Star manager has been Dave Roberts for the last 18 years. So
yeah,
not this year.
Yeah, loving it. Max Fried, very impressive this week in his start. Charlie Morton, again, it was such a weird start. But Spencer Strider, can't say enough again about that guy. What he's coming out and doing, I love what he does on the mound. He's different. He's got his own little swagger. I love the stash. I watched his start this week, and I could not help but laugh every time he pitches from the windup, because he goes ahead and presets that right foot to be parallel with the rubber, but he is still standing straight on to the hitter, and it basically just looks like he's staring down the hitter with just crotch open, you wish you could hit this. Like it's like come get some. And so it's just hilarious. It's like hilarious to me. So
I mean,
but he's
Scott,
doing good things.
It's like he's showing his quads off to the hitter.
Yeah,
I don't know.
exactly.
My quad, not so much as, hey, here's my stuff. I'm better than you. Hey, here's my quads. They're better than yours too, by the way.
What up, Saquon?
I mean, you guys are probably exactly right. I mean, that's right on the money. Guaranteed. Guarantees.
Yeah. But I'd say so that's kind of enough of the statistics behind everything. But I'll say the other thing that I've really enjoyed, and I think teams talk about this a lot. The guys seem like they've gelled a little bit more. They seem like they're having fun. Hearing Spencer Strider talk after his start, he just made some comments about how awesome Max Fried and Dansby and how welcoming they've been. I think it just took some time. Again, I hate still talking about this all the way in June. The lack of Freddie Freeman and his leadership in that clubhouse, I think it took some time for somebody to emerge as that leader. And I think it threw some of the gel off from the clubhouse. Again, this is just me, projecting some thoughts into it. But it seems like we're good. You know what I'm saying? It feels like some guys have stepped into those leadership roles. Ozzy, I think, being one, he seems to have really taken a hold of some of that leadership in the clubhouse. And it just feels like they're having fun playing baseball again together. And early on, those first few weeks of the season, it just looked like, 9-10 dudes out there just going through the motions kind of. And so, there's been a lot of talk. So Brian Snedeker did have that, pregame, team meeting on June 1st before that last game in Arizona, and basically called the team out for poor base running decisions, bad infield, poor, pitching approaches. There hasn't been a ton that's come out about that meeting other than basically they're playing like crap. But
there wasn't going to be a lot to come out of that meeting because it was kind of, I think, one of those closed doors. Yeah. Air out everything you need to air out. Whatever needs to be said is said, and whatever goes on in these closed doors stays in these closed doors. And because I was about to reference that meeting, and then you took the words right out of my mouth. So
there you go.
But ever since that meeting's happened, they've played really well. So
100%. So I dig it. Anybody else have any closing thoughts on the Braves?
They got 6 winnable games again this week.
They do. Definitely
I know that's leading into some stack bets there, but they got 6 winnable games. They got two sweeps very possible again. So
I definitely like the matchup against the Nationals this week. The Nationals just haven't been playing very well. Unfortunately, they do always seem to play the Braves so well too, so that's always tough. But
we're going to get Strasburg's second start.
Yeah. So, but again, I could very easily see this streak getting to 14. Then we get a nice day off and then have a 3-game series against the Cubs in Wrigley, which I really enjoy when we go to Wrigley because they're day games. It just kind of the mojo feels a little bit different. It's Wrigley. So I hope they can carry some of that positive momentum there as well. So,
well, I don't know if we're going undefeated in that following week.
We got to get through this week first. Can't go undefeated unless you start winning this week. So
that's right.
Can't look to next week.
Well,
one game at a time.
Well, I did, Drew. So I'm sorry.
One game at a time.
I just wanted to figure out when we play the Mets again because I feel like we haven't played the Mets in forever.
That's a good thing. When Scherzer gets back from the DLs when we play the Mets again.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Wonderful.
Yeah, that was something that the broadcast talked quite a bit about this weekend was the fact that the Braves still have 15 games this year against the Mets. So it's like as long as we can keep this lead, somewhat manageable, and then, even if you go 9-6 in those 15 games, that would be pretty solid. So.
It's just like the Orioles and playing the Yankees a bunch, and now they don't play them again for a while.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what I'll honestly think if the Braves were to go undefeated again this week and sweep both these series. That'd be 19 days into the month that the Braves would not have lost a game, and that is wild. Like, so
Happy
I would love
Father's
it.
Day to us.
That's right. I would love it. I would love it. So, all right. Barrick, unfortunately, is out, but that doesn't mean that we still don't give it some of its due time. Little Orioles talk. Orioles, not a bad week. They had a two-game set at home against the Cubs. One of those games was actually rained out on Wednesday, so they only played one of those two games. But they won the game Tuesday against the Cubs 9-3 before traveling to Kansas City and playing the Royals in a 4-game weekend set in which they split and went 2-2. So the Orioles end up going 3-2 on the week. So that's another winning record for them. It's pretty crazy what the Orioles seem to do. They seem to be like the word that I kind of put. I think I put it in the description of the video. They're just battling. I mean, and you gotta commend the effort that they're putting out there. Some guys are having some really good breakout seasons, and they're getting some of their young guys. Adley Rutschman, they're getting him that MLB experience that we've talked about. So. The Orioles they're kind of a fun team to watch right now, to be honest. I mean, you never know what you're going to get. So, you guys have any thoughts on the O's?
It took them 80 games last year to win 26. They have now 26 wins right now.
Nice.
In, I think, 61 games. So the signs of improvement are 100% there. And they still have some guys that are, I think DL Hall's the next guy up if he's not up yet. And they're not far off, but they're going to have a rough week this week going to Toronto and then Tampa Bay. But
they are.
It's the American League East. They're used to it.
Yep.
Imagine if they had Connor Norby in the lineup. Holy cow.
Yeah. Preview to stack bets. Yeah. Oh, that's one.
Look, if you're gonna play Major League Baseball, you're gonna run up against some great players, and you got to think you can take it to them. And right now, the Orioles believe in themselves, and they're playing pretty well.
Correct.
Yep. I kind of feel bad for not knowing this. Who is the manager? Who is the Orioles manager?
It's Hyde, isn't it?
I believe so. I'll tell you in 2 seconds.
I can't remember it.
I feel terrible.
Hyde.
That, but
yep.
I didn't remember his first name. Sorry.
At least you could come up with something.
Hyde.
I wouldn't have come up with any. I wouldn't have come up with anything. You could have given me the rest of this podcast, and I couldn't have come up with anything. So.
Would you have come up with Buck Showalter? Is that would you have come up with that one?
That would have been. My answer would have been that's the last Orioles manager I remember.
Yeah.
So.
Earl Weaver.
Yeah. There you go.
Were we alive for that one?
No.
Yes. You were.
Maybe.
He umpired. He coached Cal Ripken. Didn't he?
Yeah, Cal was there in like 82 and 83. I wasn't born until 85.
Yeah, but he was there in 85 too.
Okay. We're gonna find out, but go ahead.
We're gonna find out. Sorry, Drew. I didn't mean to make that about being you know what? Whatever. Go for it. My bad, Drew. That's me.
Oh, it's okay. It's all right.
That's what Drew gets for having to be on here with two of the young bucks. So
yeah, that's right. I'm the eldest. I'm the eldest one anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Are we the two youngest?
We are the two youngest. I am the youngest, which I bet that would have been a fun trivia. I bet nobody would have guessed that.
I always bet second.
So.
Yes, Earl Weaver's second stint was in 85 and 86, by the way.
Nice. There you go. Fond memories for you, Drew.
I don't remember any of them.
Guarantee you, Barrick doesn't know who Earl Weaver is.
I don't know about that.
We'll find out in a text message here shortly.
Oh, too funny. But just to give the Orioles, again, a little bit of their due, we're not going to spend too much time just because this is Barrick's segment. And I don't want to overlap him too much, but his boy Anthony Santander is Santander. He had 2 home runs this week. He put up a .353 average, 6 hits in 4 games. and scored 3 runs, so not bad for him. Austin Hayes just continued to have a season, man. 8 for 23 this week, or I'm sorry, 8 for 21, and had a home run with 6 RBIs. Adley Rutschman had his first career 3-hit game this week, and he had a solid week, going 5 for 16, had a 313 average, and had 3 doubles. So, that feels like a good week to kind of get you on a roll and kind of build some momentum and take it into the future for him there. So hopefully he starts seeing the ball a little bit better and can kind of get that average up some. So it was pretty bad there for a while for him, but but I think unless you guys have any more closing arguments, that's or closing thoughts, I think we're going to call that Orioles talk for this week.
Major League Baseball's hard.
Yes.
Yes.
Extremely.
I wouldn't know, but I assume.
All right. So that's Orioles talk. Appreciate it. Tune in next week.
And that is how you pivot.
That's right. I don't want to spend a ton of time on this, but I did kind of read the article a little bit this week and just kind of wanted to throw it out there as a topic and kind of get your guys' thoughts, and I'll share some of mine as well. Manny Machado did an interview this week where he essentially called out Major League Baseball and the teams, and basically said that it's, in his terms, it was bullshit what the teams were doing this year by not giving Albert Pujols a farewell tour. So just kind of wanted to throw that out there and see if you guys had any thoughts. If you agreed with Machado, if you feel like this is the retiring players' opinion, they need to make it known before the season. What are your guys' thoughts on just this? Because this feels like Machado just voicing an opinion, not Pujols putting anybody obviously up to this. So,
I mean, do I think he deserves it? Yeah, but the bad part is not the bad part. The crazy part is the guys that he's been around and retiring with are on his team. So in essence, if you really want to do it, you might as well do it for Pujols, Molina, and Wainwright. But that's not going to happen because they're not going to do that for all 3.
Sure.
And that's probably why you're not getting the final tour like, others like Chipper got.
Yeah.
Chipper was the one guy. This team has 3 guys that are going out together, and they play on a pretty good ball club too, by the way.
Yeah.
But I mean, if Machado and San Diego want to do something when they come out there, cool, do it. But that mean everybody has to.
Sure.
Kind of like I guess you say that the Coach K one, where everybody got bent out of shape because Carolina didn't do anything, but a lot of the schools did. To each his own.
Yeah. Looks like you're molding on some thoughts there, Rob.
No, I think there's one, Yachty and Wainwright. Yes, they're. I mean, Yachty may be a Hall of Famer. Waino might as well.
Yeah, Yachty is a Hall of Famer. I'll tell you that now. As will be Pujols.
But Pujols, like, you make an argument he's a top 5 hitter of all time. So I do think that warrants special recognition. However, it's June 12th, and people, they can do that in their own way. But I also think Machado has looked up to Pujols as a Latin player, and I think that's playing a thing in it. He has a personal connection to him. I don't know where Manny's from. I think Manny's from. Is he from Miami? I thought he's from Miami, Machado, or Puerto Rico. But obviously, the Latin players all look up to Pujols, and I think that is another opportunity for inclusion on Major League Baseball's part.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, you gotta play baseball. So sure. I think what Drew said, to each his own, but at the same time, like, every team should do something because this guy's knocking on the door of 700. We may never see somebody hit 700 home runs again.
Yeah.
I mean, what's he at right now? 680 something? No,
yeah,
where is he?
It's like 683, 685. He has like 15 to 17 to go, I believe.
Yeah.
So he could knock it. I mean, he could do it this year. I mean,
well, this is going to be his only shot, honestly. He's probably done. But Machado's from Miami, by the way.
Yeah.
Machado. I thought he was from Miami, but yeah, I would hold him at high regard too if I was Machado.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got to think about this too. Machado growing up, he's not that old, and Pujols has probably been around as much as Machado's probably watched baseball. So
yeah,
it's probably a guy he really looked up to playing, just like you've said. So that's probably why he thinks that, Albert should have his tour.
Yeah.
I don't know this. Scotty, you might. Did somebody ask him the question and he responded, or did he go out of his way to make this a topic? Because that would change it for me a little bit.
I didn't glean one way or the other in the article, so I would have to go back and look at it a little deeper. But
I don't think he publicly said that he was retiring, but it's a 1-year deal, and it's the writing's kind of on the wall.
If he's at 697 and he really wants it.
Yeah.
I mean, he's at 683. He's at 683. He's got 17 to go.
Yeah.
And a little more than half a season, so.
Yeah.
That's a heck of a half a season now.
Yeah, but he's only hit 4 so far, so.
Yeah. That was one of the big discussions that we talked about preseason. That was one of the topics that was like, hey, what could happen? And it was the three who hit 3,000 earlier this year. Miguel Cabrera. So he was on the doorstep of that. Pujols is on the doorstep of the RBIs and the home runs. So there's a lot kind of going on with that. But yeah,
Drew, do you have Pujols' hits up?
Yes.
Or how many hits does he have total?
33-22.
Jeez.
Yeah. I mean, you don't get the nickname the Machine for nothing,
Shoot. I mean, name 5. I mean, he's up there with Griffey, A-Rod, Barry Bonds, Hank Aaron, Babe Ruth. I mean,
Willie Mays.
Yeah.
Willie's at 660, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's above Willie Mays.
He's above Willie, yes.
Yeah.
So, who's next? A-Rod or Griffey?
I think he's tied with A-Rod. He's either tied or just surpassed A-Rod.
Yeah. Good. I mean,
of that list,
A-Rod is my least favorite. Obviously, I think he's
really
good.
He is not tied with A-Rod. He has 13 to go to get to A-Rod.
Yeah, A-Rod's like 696, isn't he?
Yes, that is correct.
What's Griffey have?
630. Griffey's 7th all time.
Griffey, Willie,
Pujols, A-Rod, Babe, Aaron, and then Bonds.
So,
it's a shame that Bonds is not going to get in the Hall of Fame.
Without looking at it, would you know how many home runs Barry Bonds had?
Well, I mean, I'm looking at it, but yeah, I would.
I would have said 770.
762.
762. Okay. Because Aaron was at 755, right?
Yeah.
But everybody knows Aaron had 755.
Yeah.
Now,
for sure.
That just goes to tell you what the legitimate record is. Is like, Scotty, you're an avid baseball consumer.
Yeah.
And you didn't know how many the all-time leader in home runs had.
That's
but
fair.
you know how many Hank Aaron had.
He's a Braves fan too, though.
He's a Braves fan too, but at the same time, I think I've done that. Somebody did that to me a couple of days ago.
Yeah. I will say, hand up, I am not a baseball historian. I don't know why. Like, for most of my life, I've consumed Braves. Like, I know quite a bit about Braves and that world, but It's something I'm trying to get better at. I actually found a book at an antique store that's like the 20th century of baseball, and it's like an in-depth look at all the teams in over the 20th century. So that's something I'm trying to become a little bit more of a historian on that stuff. But
Watch the Ken Burns
I have not done
documentary.
that. That is a very good one. That is very good. It is. Talk
First
about
four.
in depth. Good Lord.
Only reason I know anything about the early part, like the 30s and 40s and 50s and things like that, is because I loved Ted Williams' book on the science of hitting.
Yeah.
And learning about Ted Williams and his story and how literally legit he was.
Yeah.
But
so just to kind of wrap up the Machado Pujols thing, I guess here's where I'm a little torn on the situation. Like, it is, and again, this kind of ties into me not being a historian. There have not been many guys, I feel like, that have gotten this like farewell tour special treatment thing. And it also feels like it's something that's relatively new-ish. And I say new-ish because obviously I remember Chipper getting that, Jeter. I remember him getting that. I believe
Mariano.
Ichiro.
Mariano.
So again, these are kind of newer play. So again, I just don't know how old this goes. I don't know how long this dates back to a thing. So that's part of it for me, is like those guys that we just rattled off.
First ballot Hall of Famers.
Yeah, I'm not saying that like Pujols is an amazing hitter, but like I guess where I struggle is like the guys that we named off were like legit game changers, and Pujols had that time. I just feel like those last few years in Los Angeles with the Angels, he kind of lost some of that shine. Those guys that we were talking about were like performing at such high levels through their whole career. If Pujols retired 4 years ago when he was still hitting 25, 30 home runs
and was actually 40 years old,
it would be it would be much that to me makes it a much different story. The fact that it's kind of like he's just still been here and he's not been a top of the league name player, that's where I get torn. But I do feel like he does deserve, something, but I don't know if it, but again, I also say this, I don't know if I necessarily agree with this whole farewell tour thing. Like, sure, it's nice and it's great, but I don't know. It's just
the other part that the four players you mentioned, three of them, Chipper, Mariano, and Derek Jeter, played for the same team their entire career.
Also,
so it gives you an opportunity to see on the schedule where you're going to play them and set something up. People didn't know Pujols was playing with the Cardinals again until right now, or until this year. And so they may not play the Cardinals this year. They may have them, but they're only playing them in wherever, or there may be something else going on. And so that may be another thing, is they just didn't know he was going to be on the Cardinals for a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
And all of those other players said, this is it.
That's true. And I think that goes to Drew's point. Like, he hasn't necessarily publicly said this is his last season. Everybody kind of just feels like
assumes.
It is. Yeah.
That's what they said about Tom Brady.
That's what Tom said about himself.
I was going to say, that's a different story. Don't get me on that. Don't get me on that rant, Robbie.
That's the hook. Now I got to reel it in.
That's right. Just real quick, we throw this out every week just to have potential of topics, other MLB news and headlines. One that stuck out to me this week that was a little sad: Casey Mize heading to the DL, getting Tommy John surgery after straining his UCL. Tough break for the Detroit Tigers on that. He's a young star, so wish him the best, obviously, in his recovery, and hopefully he comes back better and stronger in that phase. You guys have any other thing that stuck out to you this week you want to share?
Trying to
all right, go Braves.
Yeah, all good. I'll run through standings just real quick. I'm not going to read off every team. I'm basically just going to go through. Yankees continue to just, holy cow, like the pace that they're on right now is pretty ridiculous. Best record in baseball, 44-16. They are 8.5 games ahead of Toronto in that division. Just bananas. Minnesota is leading the Central AL Central 35-27. They are 3 games ahead of the Guardians, who are at 29-27. Talk about them also being on a hot streak. The White Sox, probably one of the biggest disappointments, I would say, so far from a team overall standpoint, sitting at 27-31, 6 games out of first in the Central there. Houston leads the AL West with a record of 37-23. They are 8.5 games ahead of the Los Angeles Angels, who did finally break that 11-game losing streak. Woof. Yeah, that's tough.
Oh, I mean, there's your other Major League Baseball news this week, by the way. Sorry.
Yeah.
Firing of Joe Madden.
Yeah, Joe Madden departure from the
got his mohawk and then got called in and said, "You're fired. See you, bud."
Joe Girardi.
Yep.
Yeah.
If your name is Joe and you manage a Major League Baseball team, bye.
You do not have good vibes happening right now,
for
sure.
And you've won a World Series.
Yeah.
Bye.
Just like it's not looking good for La Russa right now either, by the way. But
it is not.
We could talk about that at another point.
Yeah, for sure. Moving over to the NL, the Mets still lead the NL East with a 39-22 record. They now only sit 5 games ahead of Atlanta. Could be 4.5 if they lose tonight against Anaheim. Last I checked, the Mets had jumped out to an early lead in that one.
Currently a 3-1 score in about the 8th.
Bottom of the 8th. That is correct.
3-1.
The Phillies. The Phillies have been a surprise. We were talking about this before we hopped on the podcast. They sit at 30-30. They were on a similar winning streak. They only got theirs to 9, but they lost today to break that streak. So they are only 3.5 games back of Atlanta for second in the division. Jumping over into the NL Central, the Cardinals lead the Brewers.
Low key though, nobody's gonna say this about Miami, but they went 8-4 this month. They're 8-4 in June.
Yep. They're 7-3 in their last 10. They lost today, but they have also been streaking. So NL East is, as always, it's a gauntlet. So
yep.
Better put your baseball pants on.
That's right. NL Central, the Cardinals are winning that division, 34-27 record. They are a half game ahead of Milwaukee. Milwaukee won today, but they also were on a 8-game losing streak. So good to see them turn that around. That team is way too talented to be losing that many games in a row. So hopefully they figure something out down there. And then, of course, the Dodgers, they are actually leading the NL West by only half a game over the San Diego Padres. Dodgers with a 37-23 record, Padres with a 37-24 record. They have also been fairly hot in the month of June. So that is your standings
on your team.
Yeah, for sure.
You better freaking win.
So that is your MLB standings roundup. And I would say, at best, an average recap of any headlines that happened this week. So we didn't get to it last week, but I do want to give us a little bit of time this week because it is a super exciting time in this space, and that is college baseball. It's one of those things I forget every year how exciting college baseball is, and then we hit regionals and super regionals and College World Series, and I'm like, man, college baseball is fun to watch. So the super regionals are currently happening this week. Last week's regionals, a lot of storylines, a lot of runs scored. As Drew kind of mentioned, in a lot of these games, it was offense mandatory, defense optional. So it's pretty bananas. I'm very intrigued with college baseball. I was a part and in college, and Robbie was as well. We were part of the group that went through the BB Core transition, where, 25, 30 home run seasons were kind of pretty natural in college baseball. And that plummeted to like 11 in our world. Baseballs were very difficult to hit, it felt like, during that time. But I would say they have figured something out with the BB Core technology because home runs are back in a plenty. So
It's all about the baseball.
So again, just wanted to throw it over to you guys. Honestly, you guys probably know a lot more about this space than I honestly do, just because I don't follow it as closely. But so anything sticking out to you guys right now? I know Drew, you mentioned the big upset today. So
the unanimous number one team in the country went down today to Notre Dame. Tennessee, I mean, 57-9 on the year. They got dudes everywhere. But when you middle finger, even though everybody says it was number one, but when you middle finger a team to walk off and win a regional, and you have your quote unquote best player, MF, the home plate umpire, twice in an at bat and get dumped, karma comes back to get you. And I know that's the brand of baseball they've played all year, and they've done some really amazing things. But man, did Link Jarrett have his squad lined up today and this weekend? Man, Link, if Link stays at Notre Dame, good for Notre Dame. But man, Florida State's going to have to dish out some money for Link Jarrett, because he just took his team to the College World Series in Omaha, and I think we were talking about it 5 years ago. This dude was the head coach at UNCG, and he now is going to Omaha with Notre Dame, who hasn't been there in 20 years. So,
and when he was at UNCG, they were getting bids into the NCAA tournament too.
And they were always one of the best hitting teams in the country, always. Yeah. And even this year at UNCG with Greg Starbuck, who was the assistant and hitting coach at Clemson for a long time. Again, UNCG's hitting is phenomenal again. So I guess there's a pipeline there with those kinds of coaches. But, man, and then, I mean, Virginia Tech's been great all year, but, you know, this ran into a buzzsaw in Oklahoma. You got ECU is about to tee it up with Texas at 10:15 tonight after a 6-hour rain delay. I will never understand why they tried to start that game at 5 o'clock, knowing that the rain, if anybody with a weather app and a brain would know that, hey, this is not a good idea. But, hey, here you go. Let's roll out there. And, you know, Texas puts up a 4 spot and they have one out in the top of the first with a runner on first when the game resumes in about 15 minutes, which will be unreal, because the jungle has been, let's say, as the young kids have said it, lit since about about 1 o'clock today. So, they're on hour 9 of drinking out there. And from what I was reading while we were talking was they're not even checking tickets now. So if you're in Greenville, go have fun and enjoy yourself at that ball game tonight, because that's going to be a madhouse. Man,
that's crazy.
And that's ECU is looking for their first ever bid to the College World Series, and this is their 32nd appearance. So, it's pretty awesome. And Carolina had a tough one today, but you know, they're a young team, just like Virginia Tech was a young team. And I think if Auburn wins, that would be 4 of the SEC West teams into the College World Series. So, still dominated by the SEC, unfortunately, but a lot of good baseball being played over this weekend and last weekend.
Yeah, I was going to say tough day for the ACC for sure. Aside from Notre Dame, but if Notre Dame hadn't pulled that off, I mean, you're right, that would have been another SEC school, and every ACC school would have lost today to not make the College World Series.
And Louisville lost yesterday 2-0 to Texas A&M. So I mean, it's not like they're not there and not competing. They're there, they're competing. They're just a little short. But
will this be the first year in a pretty long time that they're? Well, I guess So, do they consider Notre Dame to be in the ACC in baseball? Okay.
Yep, they were the 4th best team in the ACC this year.
I just want, because I know that whole independent crap they go through, but
yeah, they're in the ACC in basketball and baseball. Football, they're still independent.
Got it. Okay.
But required to play ACC teams.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Rob, you got any thoughts?
Yeah, I felt bad for for Tennessee for the player, and I'll tell you why. I watched the ejection in Game 1 live, and there is no excuse for what he did, and he should have been ejected. That type of behavior comes from the dugout and comes from the head coach. If you watch the ejection, they had an assistant coach and their head coach out of the dugout speaking that way to the umpire. Evidently, the umpires released a statement after the game that said their center fielder had been chirping about calls from center field earlier in the game. If you're going to address the umpire like that, you're going to get tossed. But they see that from their head coaches. And like you said, Drew, that's the brand of baseball they've been playing all year, and it bit them in the rear. That is purely on the head coach.
Yeah.
That if that's the culture and the way you want your young, and I get the competitiveness, I get the intensity level. I have been in the dugout in a super regional. I have been in the dugout with 2 strikes and 2-run lead in the College World Series final game. I know the intensity level. You cannot speak to an adult that way if you're a 19-year-old kid. You can't.
Yep.
And it makes me feel really bad for the kid and for their coaches, because that is the culture they've set for their young people. And that bothers me. As a kid, as somebody who teaches younger kids, Drew, you coach high school kids. Do we use bad language when we're coaching? Yeah. It happens.
Drew probably a little more than you.
I played the fifth.
But I'm not gonna say that that's okay in any stretch of the imagination. And no coach ever would, especially when you're talking to an umpire, especially when you're talking to another team. And so for me, that was really, really disappointing. And yes, you have to hold the kid accountable, but dude, that comes from the top. That assistant coach who left the dugout, which is an automatic 3-gamer, for leaving the dugout as an assistant coach, was MFing the umpire straight up and down, sideways and left. And so it's one of those things where it's like, what do you think the kid's going to do in that situation? You don't exhibit self-control. Why is a kid?
Yeah. I totally agree. I'll say, so again, I did put in the title of this video, umps are bad.
And they're not getting better. So
he made a bad. The call wasn't a good. He missed the pitch.
Yeah.
All right. He did it, and he would be the first to tell you he missed the pitch. Most umpires that I know are very willing to admit they've missed the pitch after the fact. They're not going to do it right in the middle of the game.
Right.
They've never done that in the middle of the game. Oh, my bad. That was a strike. I called it a ball, but that was actually a strike. That's never happened in baseball.
Well, there was actually a situation with Chris Bassett earlier this year in a Mets game where him and an umpire kind of had they kind of caught eye contact, and it got caught on camera as they were going to break, where the umpire kind of like patted his chest, and Chris Bassett kind of just like tipped his cap. But that was it. They just move on, and life kind of goes as it is. All I was going to say is, so I have been watching college baseball with the regionals and super regionals. We've talked about how bad Major League umpires have been. I will say there is a tremendous talent gap in umpires, because these games have been pretty rough from a ball strike standpoint. Even watching the Texas ECU game yesterday, that umpire was all over the place. I don't think that guy had depth perception to see the bottom of the strike zone. Like, it was bad. And so
a lot of it's positioning, honestly. You guys know my dad. He knows the positions umpires should be in.
Yeah.
He loses his mind still. And I'll be honest with you, Bob Schwab hadn't umpired a baseball game in a while, but he knows where they should stand and how they should position themselves.
Sure.
And he loses it when umpires position themselves and they can't see the bottom of the zone, or they're angled so far that they can't get the outside corner.
Yep.
It is hilarious listening to him say that, but he is right.
Yeah.
They're bad. They don't get into good positions, and they miss pitches because of it.
Yeah. So that's been tough to just watch this weekend. Major league umpires, look, and we've gone at length. We've even talked about it now in this podcast. The outbursts that are happening from players, coaches, collegiate and professional, they are getting pretty rough. So I get it. As Robbie was saying, as an adult, like there's going to be a line that somebody crosses, and it kind of goes that way. But I do feel like in this day and age, there was another incident this week where an umpire walks out from behind the catcher and is trying to instigate a pitcher to say something else so that he can run him. And that, to me, umpires are, in my opinion, viewing from the viewership of the game, umpires are starting to crave that power. And I think it's because they feel like it's the only power that they have to hold over the managers and the players, because the players and managers are getting so upset with them about calls. And so I get it to some level, but at the same time, they are inserting themselves into games where they don't need to be involved in the game. And I don't know. It's becoming like that part of the game is becoming very difficult to watch. And again, I was actually watching another game. I wasn't watching the Tennessee game, and they flashed over to that game when that incident happened. And then the commentators of the game that I was watching were talking about how it's a directive straight from the NCAA that behavior is not to be tolerated. It's a zero tolerance issue.
Nope.
So anybody that's saying the umpire had a short fuse and all this kind of stuff, it's a directive from the NCAA. And these guys went into it that it's not the umpire's fault if he's going to run somebody like that, because if they don't impose the things that the NCAA tells them to impose, it creates issues of them getting games. It means they don't get to be a super regional umpire, or maybe they don't get to go to the next step and be an umpire at the College World Series. So that is tough. That's a tough spot for an umpire to be in. If you have to answer to the NCAA after that game and be like, why didn't you run this kid when he clearly, used profanity directly towards you?
Yeah.
I don't
know. The way the narrative gets spun is you ran the kid out because you made a bad call.
Right.
That's the narrative that gets spun.
Where at the end of the day, they did their job because they were forced to do their job.
Exactly.
Right. And and we all know that if umpires, if we don't notice them, then they do a really good job. The only time we ever notice umpires is if they don't do a good job. And the bad part is that you're starting to know these umpires' names, not because they've done good jobs, because they've done bad jobs.
Angel Hernandez.
And that's my point right there. I mean,
I got a tickle in my throat.
So that's the thing right there. It's just that, and I've had the conversation with Plaster plenty of times. Plaster being our baseball coach and is now my AD. They're not getting better, so you just kind of just deal with it. And as players, how to deal with umpires is you don't give them that opportunity to make that call. You put it in your own hands. And if you put it in your own hands, it really doesn't matter what they call back there.
Tell me the perfect baseball game that's ever been played that you lost because of a bad call, and I'll show you a liar. There are always ways. There are always things you could have done better as a team, as a player, as a coach in any single baseball game that makes the call that you feel slighted about irrelevant.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you could even look last weekend in the regional, that game, UConn, Maryland, in that elimination game, when the umpire called that kid for runner's interference running to first, and Maryland ultimately loses that game. You got a lot of people pointing the finger that says, like, if he doesn't call that, the run scores, blah, blah, blah. But again, it's like, it was like 10-9, I think, was the final. So how about you don't give up 10 runs? Like, like
all 10 of those runs.
Right. So anyway, yeah.
Even the worst egregious ones, even like the worst egregious, poorly timed calls, there are always things that you could have done better as a team or as a player or as a coach.
Yeah. Yeah. So, again, we don't hate umpires on this podcast. We hate umpires that insert themselves into situations they shouldn't be in. We don't like umpires that don't get in right positions to make right calls. And then we especially don't like umpires that think the game revolves around them and not the actual game that's being played. And that, unfortunately, that's why we have talked so much about umpires this year. I feel like is because those situations and scenarios are what has been happening. So,
hey, without umpires, we wouldn't play.
That's true. Sure. So, all right. Gone a little late again tonight, but hey, we've talked about some really important topics.
Hey, my internet connection is pretty good. So let's
Robbie is. Yeah. We might need to do a 24-hour marathon at this rate with that internet. So
can't do that.
Drew said I'm out. So we will quickly move on to another recurring segment that we have now third week in a row. Look at us go. Player and Players of the Week. I feel like each week we look at these and it kind of becomes more cut and dry as we go. But maybe we'll have some differences. Rob, are you playing arbitrator this week or did you go through, you got some picks this week?
I'm playing arbitrator.
Okay. I think Drew and I are actually going to have at least one difference that I kind of know of.
We'll see.
I won stack bets last week again, so I think that means that I go first. Is that what we decided?
Yeah, sure.
I don't remember. So, all right. Position player of the week, hitter of the week, I guess. Byron Buxton is who I went with. He hit 330. He hit 333 this week. Had 5 home runs, 7 RBIs, a double, 7 total hits. Guys, listen to this. An OPS of 1.512. Like, that is bananas. So,
given the fact that Drew is rattling off those statistics, it makes me think
he just did his homework, man. So
yeah, I did my homework. No, my guy, Ronald Acuna.
Uh-oh.
I picked Drew wins.
3 home runs this week. I mean, I know his OPS wasn't as high, but he had some. He's a game-changing player.
He also made several amazing plays in the outfield and stole more bases.
Correct.
Go, Drew. You win. Next.
Fair enough. I knew that was an immediate L as soon as that came out of his mouth. Pitcher of the week. Go ahead.
I'm good.
Oh, you good?
I'm umpiring again. I'm inserting myself into a conversation I'm not prepared for.
Pitcher of the week. Drew and I did actually talk about this. There were a couple options that were out there. Ultimately, I just decided I landed on Justin Verlander. He started twice this week, picked up wins in both games. He went 14 innings total, 9 hits. He gave up 5 runs, but only one of those was earned. So he had a .64 ERA for the week. He had 3 walks, 17 strikeouts, and he had a .86 whip. So at the end of the day, the 17 strikeouts just really stood out to me. He was mowing them down. So Justin Verlander was my pitcher of the week.
Mine is a rookie. Had 2 starts, 1 complete game, 1 shutout, 1-0, .75 ERA, 12 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, 2 walks, 15 strikeouts, a .42 whip, and a .079 batters against average, Mr. Hunter Green of the Cincinnati Reds. Good luck, Rob.
I will throw one piece of evidence out at you that I did mention to Drew, and this was a deciding factor in my decision. Hunter Green got credit this week for a complete game shutout, but it was a 7-inning doubleheader, so he went 7 innings complete game shutout. So again, the numbers don't lie. He still shut him out for 7 innings, but I did want to clarify it was a 7-inning complete game shutout. So
that's not listed in the stats.
That does factor in but kind of like wins factors into the Cy Young Award voting. Honestly, I need more information. Who did Hunter Green start against? Who were the opponents that he pitched against?
You're going to go that deep on us, huh?
I also need the opponents that Justin Verlander.
St. Louis and Arizona.
Okay.
Give me a second. I closed that screen because I felt pretty solid about this. So
Verlander threw against Seattle and Miami.
Seattle and Miami. I will say both at home.
I choose Justin Verlander. Verlander is older than a lot of pitchers out there, and he still throws fire. And
39.
He is 39 years old. He is, I'll be honest with you, he is the closest that we've had to Nolan Ryan being able to pitch like that we've had in a while.
For sure.
Now, I'm not saying he's Nolan Ryan, but I mean, his fastball's still mid to high 90s. He's still got 97 in the tank, and he is really good. And yeah, Verlander.
Love it. I'll be honest. I would have been fine if you went either way. I think Verlander did have a good week. He was my guy. That's who I picked. But I mean, again, Hunter Green had solid outings.
Also, Seattle and Miami, like some good teams.
Couple streaking teams for sure.
I
will say Cincinnati, that Hunter Green pitched really well against St. Louis. So kudos to him for that. But he just plays on a bad team.
They both had an in-division matchup. They both played another team. You said they played Arizona, who's kind of mid-level. Miami, kind of mid-level. So it was really good. He just did great.
Love it. All right, final segment of the show. Stack bets of the week.
Let's do this quick.
All right. I won last week, so I'm going to pull up the. I'm gonna hit third on this one. So, Rob, since you weren't here last week, I'm going to have you bat lead off today, so you don't sit in the 2-hole again. So,
much appreciated. I am going to talk about the Pittsburgh Pirates, the team that just played. Okay, I think they are going to win 3 or more games this week. They're on a 6-game losing streak. I have a feeling that the Pittsburgh Pirates are going to win 3 or more games this week, and I am going to put 50 stacks on that.
All right. Is that going to be your only one this week, or you got another one?
It's going to be my only one because I don't have a lot of money because I haven't been participating as well as I should have.
Fair enough.
So that a deep in the pot.
That's right. So that pulls your balance down to 75 after this week. So 50 stacks. Pittsburgh wins 3 or more games this week.
Yes.
All right. Locked in on the sheet.
If wishing made it so.
All right, Drew. You are the clubhouse leader of stacks right now with 300. So what you putting up this week?
All right. First and foremost, we're going to go 50 on the Braves to win 4 more this week and win both series.
Okay. Love it.
Second one, 25 stacks.
So they have to win 2 in each one.
Yes. Then they would win both series and win 4 more. Yes, combo. My second one, 25 stacks. I'm going to say that Ronald Acuna Jr. will hit a leadoff home run in at least one of the games in each series.
Man.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I'm going out a little bit on a limb on that one.
I feel like some of these we need to, like last week, I'll be honest, Michael Harris getting 6 or more hits felt like a 3-1 than a 2-1 type bet. We might need to start having some off podcast votes on some of these odds, but because that also feels like much bigger than a 2-1
Yeah.
on that. But
Yeah.
nonetheless,
I
like
25. Mike Trout's going to go hit 2 or more bombs this week. He's starting to lock back in. And then just for you, Robbie, the last one of the evening, 10 stacks. Mr. Connor Norby hits 2 or more home runs this week.
Love it. Love it.
Did you coach him, Drew?
For 3 years, yes, absolutely, I did.
What was he doing the fourth year?
He was a freshman, and I wasn't at East yet. I coached him his sophomore, junior, and senior year.
What an inheritance that you had.
So 110 stacks this week
yes, sir.
for Drew on the line. So that'll take his balance down to 190 after this week.
Shucks.
All right.
Good job, everyone.
We're getting dangerous here. So I'm putting 25 stacks up this week. Dansby Swanson has 7 or more RBIs. Dude has been a machine with runners in scoring position. So that's what I'm going with. 7 or more RBIs for Dansby. Putting up 50 stacks that the Braves will win 5 or more games this week.
Sounds familiar.
5-1 or 6-0. That's what we're shooting for. 50 stacks on that. And then I am also putting up 50 stacks that the Orioles are going to lose more than 3 games this week. They have 4 tough games on the road against the Blue Jays before coming home and having 3 tough games at home against the Tampa Bay Rays. So I'm going 50 stacks that they will lose 4 or more. Sorry, I said 3. I actually put up 4 or more losses. So 50 stacks the Orioles lose 4 or more games this week. So they will go 3-4 or worse is my bets, my stacks.
Yeah.
Love it. All right, boys. Well, that wraps up all of our topics for the week. As always, give you just a quick 15-20 seconds of anything you want to throw out there. Drew, I'll let you go first.
Pirates got out of the bottom of the first after giving up 4. Got 3 outs, so they're heading into the bottom of the first and 10:23 at night. That should be fun. Could be a big week this week. Might be on here next week, might not. Maybe a brief session next week. Not 100% sure, but we'll see. Keep you guys updated this week. Hope everybody has a fantastic week. It's supposed to be blazing hot here in the Triad area of North Carolina. So if you're in the Triad, find a pool or a kiddie pool and cool off. So, but hope everybody has a great week.
Love it. Awesome. Rob?
I am not in the Triad area. I am at the beach. So I'm having a good, cool time down at the water over there. But a lot of fun baseball. Go Braves.
Love it. Love it. I'm looking forward to the week. Get these super regionals behind us. Get the Braves still on this winning streak. Very much looking forward to it. I'm traveling for work this week as well. I'm actually going to be down in Amelia Island, Florida, for 3 days. So looking forward to that. It is a work trip, so have to
work.
Amelia Island,
put on
Florida?
the work stuff. I think that's what it is. I don't know. I'm going somewhere in the upper part of Florida, so
should be fun.
I'll find out on Wednesday, but still looking to lock in and watch some Braves games this week. So, anyway, so just to wrap us up, as always, folks, we appreciate you tuning in tonight and interacting with us. As always, you can email us any questions or comments to the email address here on the screen, or it is the word first, the number 2, the word third, pod@gmail.com. So that's first 2/3 pod@gmail.com. We also have our social media links down in the description. You can find us on Twitter, on Instagram. Please feel free to give us a follow over there. Getting a lot more active on Twitter, live tweeting some Braves games. A lot of fun over there. And we always as well want to just remind you, if you would mind, just liking and subscribing to the channel here. Any support that you give us goes a super long way for us to keep doing this and putting out some great content. So, again, we appreciate it. Hope you all have a great week, and go Braves. Peace.
Amelia Island is in Florida.